Hogstye.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hogstye. It is your host, Alex Zeese. I got Jamal here, I got Steve here. Guys, it's Mother's Day weekend. Everyone's going to be listening to this after Mother's Day, but to the 14 or so women who probably listen to this, because let's be honest.
Can't be many.
Yeah. But to you all out there, happy Mother's Day.
And please tell your mothers and your wives or whoever, your baby mamas, whoever they are, tell them Happy Mother's Day.
Yes, mom. Do that from us.
Well, I mean,
to
some
your
of
mothers.
them, that's who you are. You got, it's fine.
Yeah,
Like
baby mamas are still mamas,
I'm not here to judge.
No, we may judge other places, but not here. We don't judge.
Yeah, I know. Not on this show. I'll judge everything somewhere, but
Yeah. We have an interesting show. We are actually starting this way later than I thought we would. Steve was giving Jamal some advice. We had to do reverse earmuffs where I had to take my headphones off. That was fun. And I just watching you guys like your mouths move. That was interesting.
Well, look, we got some good news on the horizon, man. So I'm in good spirits, and you all know what I shared, and eventually I will be able to share it to everybody, but right now, there's some good spirits, and Steve is helping me out with his best lawyerly advice.
I'll just break the news. Jamal's been hired by ESPN to be their primary Washington correspondent. That's
right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's
I'm sharing the spotlight with John Keim,
right?
No. He's taking John Keim's spot.
Yeah.
Man.
The funny
Shout
part
out
is
to John, man. That's my guy. No hard feelings.
I was gonna say the funny part is that you and John actually communicate fairly often. So,
yeah.
Like
that's
I saw
not Jamal's
John
real
retweeting
news,
you the other day. I'm like, John Keim is probably still the best day-to-day beat writer in.
I thought that he was better when he was at the Times, Washington. Wasn't it the Washington Times?
He was around for a long time.
Yeah, and not because his skills have gone down or anything, but ESPN is more like, the Burger King of sports, and so they don't let him get nearly as much into like the film and stuff as he used to.
Yeah.
And so I mean I get it, and it's not a critique of John really. It's just kind of the way it's done and the way it's set up. But I liked him better at the Times.
No, I mean. He was at the Times. Was he at the Post for a minute,
Whatever,
or was that
for like 5 seconons? Our buddy Keith McMillan hired him, and then he left like immediately.
That's right.
That's right. Post, Times. I think he was actually on Hogs Haven for a second too, like for a split second. I think like a long time ago. He was around for a while, and when we talk, I didn't realize how far back he went for Washington.
Beyond Rick Snyder, he's like the dean of the press corps around here, except for Rick.
Well, I mean, I think even Rick would say, since he's not doing day-to-day beat stuff all the time, that it is John probably now.
As Rick, a day-to-day guy, yeah.
Yeah, because Rick goes in there, like he was at rookie camp, which we'll talk about. Yeah. But I don't think Rick is there Monday through Friday anymore. I think
I don't think so.
He does pop-ins. So.
Yeah. Rick's lost a ton of weight, by the way. He's lost like 30 pounds, I think he said on Seasons of Discontent.
He said 60.
Maybe he did. I know it's a ton of weight. Looks good.
Well, he had that health issue, so
yeah.
We know how that goes. You have a health issue.
I do know how that goes.
Yes. You know how that goes. I know how that goes. I didn't lose any weight. I just changed my diet, and still I'm as fat as ever. It's a thing. All right. Why don't we get into this week? As I kind of just alluded to, rookie camp happened this weekend. I believe it's only one day now, right? It was just Saturday or Sunday, or no, wait, it wasn't
Friday
because that's tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was today as well. Am I not? I thought it was 2 days, right? Or they go home today.
I think they go home today. I could be wrong.
I think it's now over. Just a 1 day thing, which is so weird. Okay. Like I feel like it used to be a week, and they've just kept going.
Well, I mean, how can you get a good sense of all these guys in like 3 hours? That's all.
Right.
I mean, it's just like a welcoming for really, to the coaching staff to see what these players can do, but also like a first look for the media as well for them rookies.
Well, I guess maybe
hand them the playbook.
Yeah, I mean, well, and the tryout guys though, it's like, how do you know? I mean, I guess you could see if like the next Adrian Peterson showed up, maybe he would stick out. But otherwise, I think it'd be tough and just like one practice.
Oh, absolutely. We were kind of going through the names beforehand, Steve, and I know you have the list in front of you.
Yeah.
If you want to read through them, you can. It's not like if you are a fan of this team and you know more than 4 of these players, if you're even a college football fan and know more than 4 of these players, I'll be shocked.
We were talking about it because Alex had this juvenile joke about one of the names that I didn't even
there's
understand.
A guy named B.J. Bird who played at Morehead State. Jamal, the 12-year-old in me, thinks that's hilarious.
B.J. Bird.
Yeah.
Barhood State?
Morehead.
Oh, Morehead.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I was like, okay. I knew some HBCUs here too. So I was like, I thought I heard Morehead.
No. You just hear BJ and Morehead, and it's funny.
Yeah.
See, it didn't even occur to me what you were talking about. I guess my mind doesn't work like a 12-year-old.
Steve hasn't even heard dirty phrases before, so that's
my mind is not
funny.
12.
Hey, look, before you get to the names, we need to talk to these Commanders people. I don't know what's going on, but they are being real strict with these policies. They are not. I'm trying to make sure we get some access or trying my best, and my communication efforts with these guys just keep going down the hill. No disrespect to them, what I'm saying, in their policy, but Jesus Christ, we had access before. Why y'all making this difficult for us?
There's 2 things. Number 1, the staff has changed from all the people I knew. Number 2, there's been the COVID thing destroyed all access. Number 3, more importantly, probably, Jamal, you work with 2 people who've done nothing but bash the team for 2 years, at least 2 years now. So they may be holding that against us because I have such a big mouth.
Yeah, we do make fun of Dan Snyder on a by-show basis.
I've written columns about bashing him, and I won't shut up about it.
I'm about to say it is funny that you bring that point up because, and now there's no disrespect. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a lot of people out there that I listen to, and I like their commentary. But to your point, Steve and Alex, there's people getting access, and they're a lot more positive about the team and their coverage of the team. So I think to your point, when you are objective or more critical than positive, then maybe it does play a part. I don't know the intricacies. And again, because there's no disrespect to the people, and I'm not gonna say their name like that, but you may have a point. We're gonna keep trying though. Keep trying.
First off, every year there's another 10 podcasts that come out, so that plays true into it too.
Well, and look, I mean, I'm not gonna ask for me. I mean, number 1, I don't want to go and waste my time, and number 2, it just wouldn't go well. So
you also would have to travel very long distance.
Well, even forgetting about that, I mean, it's all those things. So I'm not the person anymore to ask them. Because they probably, if Dan Snyder's anything, it's petty, right?
Yeah.
So if they've heard us at all, they know.
Dan Snyder would.
Not Dan Snyder doesn't know, but the staff does.
They definitely got their ears to the podcasters now.
They used to call me about it, every once in a while, and because they complained when we had some player on.
Oh yeah, you did say that. Some people were, I remember that.
Those people that were doing that are gone, and they have a whole new crew now.
Yeah. So do we want to just go through the rookie minicamp stuff? I mean, it's not like we were there or we can say much about it. But Steve, why don't you give us the names of some of the guys who showed up?
Okay.
I got some quotes after that too from Robert
cool.
Harris.
All right, I'm gonna run through these really fast. Will Adams, DB from Virginia State. Chris Booker, wide receiver from Ohio State. Decalon Brooks from Florida State, linebacker. B.J. Bird from Morehouse State, wide receiver, as Alex laughed about. Stephen Davis Jr., yes, that's Stephen Davis. North Carolina A&T. He's a linebacker, not a running back, though.
Right.
Trey Gross, wide receiver from Delaware State. Nigel Hill, cornerback from Delaware. Jonathan Johnson, wide receiver from Richmond. I think he's a rookie because we had a Jonathan Johnson before. Tight end Deontay Knight from Western Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Dejun Lee, it looks like, running back from Delaware. Travis Lee, running back from Boston College. Michael McMorris, DB from Navy. Bryce Notry, linebacker from Southern Illinois. John Petruccian, Pittsburgh linebacker Cedric Stone, DB from Liberty, and wide receiver Donnell Williams, from UT Martin, wide receiver. See, the name that stuck out there was John Petruccian because it almost sounds like the drummer for Dream Theater, but that's my nerdiness.
Yes. I mean, obviously, the name that's going to stick out to everybody is Stephen Davis Jr.
Or not the drummer, the guitarist. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Stephen Davis Jr. Rick Snyder, I know, made a big deal. Like I don't think he's covered many guys and their sons, despite the fact that he's been covering this team for 40 years. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of wild that Stephen Davis's son is now trying to make it in the NFL.
I don't know if he can play at all, but it's pretty cool that he's in Washington.
You know what? We are so hard up at linebacker. Just sign.
They're also hard up on good stories. If the team wanted a good story, you'd sign the guy just to have some PR and
put him on the 90 at least through training camp. Yeah, something like that is not beyond the realm of what this team might do.
Of course, I don't know how well Stephen Davis appreciates the franchise anymore. I mean, he was with Carolina, and he was kind of bitter about Washington, if I recall, when he left, and he had a really good relationship with Carolina. So,
well, remember, he got his ass kicked in Washington by Michael Westbrook and left not long after.
And to be fair, Michael Westbrook ended up as a professional mixed martial artist. So
he was also absolutely in the wrong in Tampa.
Absolutely.
You got called a name and you beat the guy up.
Between being the recipient of a beating.
Yes.
Westbrook was a mixed martial artist, so
right, yeah.
So it's nothing bad about Davis,
No. I loved Steve Davis back in the day, man.
Oh, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Well, when I think to like my earlier memories of actually understanding football, it was right when he was the star running back. So, like that was a big thing, at least for me.
See, I remember the days of John Riggins, but I was a really little kid and didn't fully understand football at that time.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking my early teens is like the Stephen Davis era or mid-teens. So, like you actually understand a little bit of X's and O's and all that stuff. Yeah, fond memories of Stephen Davis. Also, just a giant running back. Like
his son is big too. This morning preparing for the show, I saw a picture of him. That dude is tall, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So the fun thing, speaking of tall guys, we had two quarterbacks in this rookie camp. Sam Howell, who, by the way, they're already selling his jersey on Fanatics, which is insane because he's going to be the third string quarterback. But I guess,
dime, man.
Yeah, man. I guess if you sell 10, it's worth it. But the crazy thing is that other quarterback they brought in is a 6'7", 260-pound quarterback.
I have him listed at 249, but
okay.
I don't know where I got that. But yeah.
He's basically a tight end. He like body size wise.
He's bigger than most tight ends.
Yeah, but I can't. Like, I saw one picture of them standing next to each other, and it was kind of like watching The Lord of the Rings with the hobbits. And Sam Howell's bigger than me, but he's standing by a giant.
Well, I mean, he's 6 inches shorter than this guy. I mean, you're talking about Cole Kelly from Southeast Louisiana. Yeah. Cole Kelly's an interesting dude because he put up massive, gigantic numbers, in college, huge numbers, but he's got all kinds of problems from a mechanic standpoint. You had the Southeast Louisiana competition isn't nearly as good, all of that. Right. But he's an interesting guy.
Is Southeast Louisiana Division 3? I'm not even sure. Like they're yeah.
Did y'all see the picture of the 6'7" Cole Kelly and the running back who was literally a whole foot shorter than him?
Jared Patterson.
No, I don't know who it was. It was one of the people that you named on your list. He was like 5'6" or something like that. 5'6" or 5'5". So when he was standing next to him in the shotgun, it was like based on the picture, you would have thought that was a kid.
He must have been Deshaun Lee because he's 5'7".
Doesn't help that in shotgun the running back's going to be crouched and the quarterback's more upright than usual.
It's kind of like Shaq being married to some woman who's like 5'4".
Wasn't he married to a woman?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of wild, man. That guy is just a giant, and he's athletic. That's why I was kind of saying I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to stick in the NFL. He does the whole Logan Thomas make that switch.
I shook Yao Ming's hand once at a particular event, and let me tell you something. I mean, he was a full, almost about 1'10" taller than me.
Oh yeah, and
it's just crazy.
The thing about Yao Ming is also he's just so much. He's not like gangly big. He's just a giant.
He's really big. Yeah, I had I had both my kids there with me, and the little one who was only like 8 or 9 at the time. I said, look, there's Yao. We went to the season ticket holder thing, even though I wasn't a season ticket holder, and I was like, there's Yao Ming. He's coming over here, and my son's looking at his like knee. I had to pick him up and like tilt him up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is how big this human is. Really amazing.
Yeah. My uncle wound up going to a wedding that Yao Ming was at, and my uncle's even shorter than you. So the picture of him with Yao Ming, he's probably like 5'6", and it was pretty
2 feet shorter than Yao Ming.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I don't know, Jamal. You said you had some interesting quotes from camp, so why don't we go through those and.
Yep. Let me go ahead and bring them back up. The transcript right here.
Okay.
So I'll start with he talks a lot, Ron Rivera does, but
yeah, he does.
I'm gonna go through the first quote where he spoke on his impressions of the rookies, and then I got a couple more after that. So first thing first, on his impressions of the rookies so far. Well, there's a lot of good things. I mean, we were real positive, got an opportunity to watch the guys really go through their early paces. There's a couple of things that stood out that was impressive. We got an opportunity to watch the whole group. Jahan Dotson looks as solid as advertised. We're real pleased to see what we saw from him. I thought he moved around really well. Phil looked solid for Darian Matthews. Big style guy on the inside. That was really good. We saw Brian Robinson run the ball, a big physical body. When you see him out there, it's impressive. It really is. He moves really well for a big guy, has some good lateral quickness, good footwork. Percy Butler looked fast, big, long, and can move. That was really good. I'm trying to remember all of our picks, so I guess he's trying to go through all 7. So I'll just go through a statement of each because he, like I said, he talked a lot. So Sam Howell threw the ball very well, has good footwork, good arm strength. Cole Turner, he's a big body that moves well, presents a good target. Chris Paul, physical, good sized body. Christian Holmes, cornerback. For a big guy, when you look at him, you're going to think that he's a safety, but he moves well for a corner. So he went through all the lists, said that they were pretty pleased for the most part. So in a sense, he's like, as I'm reading through that quote, he's just upselling the guys. No disrespect, nothing like that, but just upselling the guys in a sense, just saying that everybody looks as good as advertised and what they provide to the team. So I guess that's a nothing burger. But then he transitioned to the Mike linebacker, following one question about Curtis Samuel, Carson Wentz, and Chase Young. That was all about injuries and stuff like that. But his comments on the Mike linebacker, and on if he plans to solve that position internally. He said, well, internally right now, we are giving Cole the opportunity to continue there. We thought he did some really good things, especially down the stretch. David Mayo stepped up and played very well and showed us what he can do. Plus, he's a 4-phase guy. So I'm assuming run, pass, special teams. No, run, special teams, the 3 phases of special teams.
Well, you got coverage defense. And then blitzing. That would be
coverage, kickoff. Yeah. Or I don't know what he meant by that. I ain't gonna lie to you. But a 4-phase guy.
Coverage, and then punt and kick return.
Sounds like he's talking about David Mayo as a defender, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it sounds like when he says 4-phase.
We don't know. Ron, please explain
I never heard that term before. I'm not gonna lie to you. I never heard that term. But Jamin Davis shown us some really good things that we're really happy with. And we got a number of guys that we're looking at. So when it comes to the Mike linebacker, I think that answer kind of actually solves itself. He does say that we're looking at other guys, but also says that we're giving Cole the opportunity to continue there. I think that Phil Mathis pick is also something, that constitutes, what he just said. Like, it backs up what he just said. Phil isn't going to be a guy who's being a penetrator of sorts. He's going to be holding up, standing, eating up space, and allowing those linebackers to kind of flow. And if you all saw Cole Holcomb last year, even Jamin Davis, those guys struggle to get off blocks. What do you think Phil is in here for? So I think for the Mike linebacker and even for Jamin Davis's role as a weak side, that's probably their intent, is to move forward with those two and have them play a high snap count.
Of course, I'd just like to say that Tim Settle was also a space eater. And so the Phil Mathis is sort of was an unnecessary draft pick in my view, but go ahead. I'm still amazed that they did that.
Where are we at? I actually thought that Tim Settle and what's his name, Meta Ioannidis were pretty effective pass rushers. That's what
I thought they were too. I didn't really understand letting them go.
I understood that you need to probably move on from one guy, but not all.
And by the way, as to Rivera's comments about the draft picks, I mean, it sounded like, like Jamal said, a big nothing. And he's not going to go, gee, that 5th round pick sure was disappointed so far.
Mm-hmm.
And nor is he going to declare any of them Hall of Famers. So it sounded like he's just babbling coach speak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how he does it. I mean, most coaches do it at his stage.
Not everybody's Norv Turner in year one.
No.
Or not Norv Turner. Your boy.
Jay. Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Yeah. Jay was one of the rare ones in that regard.
And even still, like, there's coaches, they're not going to go through all of their draft picks like that. He took some time out to really have something to say for each of these guys.
By the way, 4 phase is definitely a special teams term. It's I assume it means, I couldn't even find what it means. When I Googled it, it's all special teams stuff that comes up. So,
okay. Yeah, that's what I was
Ron, we need you to explain what you meant by that, please.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple other ones as I'm scrolling through. He mentioned about the 4 draft picks, and I guess we can talk about this if you all want. So he said the first 4 draft picks, if there are early signs that they can contribute right away. And his response was, a lot of this is really about the mental aspect. This morning was more about watching them athletically, getting a chance to try and break them down. I was trying to pop up from one drill to another so I can see different groups. As I said, a couple guys really did stand out to us. Percy's speed really shows. I mean, you can watch him move around and, say that he can flat out run. Watching Cole go down the seam today on one of the passenger drills was really impressive. As I said, with Brian Robinson, watching him catch the bottom up to the flat and then turn those shoulders square, he's an imposing figure, which is really good. Jahan is smooth. He's a really good route runner and natural catching. It's good to see. It really was. And as I said, you would be able to draw your own conclusion based on what you guys see. So mental aspect is something that he's figuring out. But today, meaning Friday, the day of this practice, was about watching them athletically and breaking them down like that. So what do you all think about the first 4 picks and their opportunity to start right away?
Well, I wrote a column that we published Friday about Brian Robinson and what I think is the plan for Washington's running back room going forward. Because I'm one of the few who was critical of Antonio Gibson last year just because his effectiveness dropped so much. Right. He built up more yards, but he had more carries, and it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust quite often for him. And he only got up to 4 yards per carry thanks to the very last game of the season. Before that, he was in the mid 3s. So I think they need to do something, and I don't think Antonio Gibson is very good inside the A gaps. I just don't think that's his thing. I think he's perfect for a zone scheme, where he can see a hole and cut back against it. He's good to the outside, but in terms of short yardage, A gap, no. And like Jarrett Patterson, great story, but I mean, he's like 5'2", undrafted free agent. So I actually think Brian Robinson, of all these guys, Brian Robinson may end up having the biggest long-term impact because they can have sort of like Navy in the 60s or 40s, whenever it was the Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside thing. Yeah. I think Robinson is your short yardage back. He's your blocking back. He is your goal line back. He's your, we really need 3 yards in the interior back. And then you can maybe use Gibson in a role that's more consistently effective. So I actually think that pick is great.
No, I mean, I look at all 3 of those top 4 picks, and so Doxson, I think, obviously we're going to be using him a lot. This team's going to really, they have 3 receivers if they're all healthy, and I assume that they're going to do a lot of 3 receiver sets going forward this year. That lends itself to what Carson Wentz wants to do, getting the ball downfield more. Obviously, Phil is gonna be that third defensive tackle. So, that the holes are there for these guys to contribute right away, obviously.
And in terms of by the way, before I forget, what Jamal read about him saying about linebacker, I hope people don't believe that garbage. I mean, look, Cole Holcomb's a nice player. He certainly outplayed his draft status.
Yeah.
Good for Cole.
He's at least a league average.
But I mean, they really desperately they should have drafted a linebacker in round 2, not this defensive tackle, but they forced themselves to draft a defensive tackle because they let 2 of them go.
Right.
One of them for not a big contract.
It's not like they didn't need it.
But they needed it because they intentionally let 2 people go, one of whom they should have kept.
Right.
But they really, really need a linebacker. I mean, it is such a weakness on this team.
Yeah, no question. They need to, and the fact that post-draft they haven't gone hard at finding, because there are a number of veteran linebackers available.
Yeah, let me see if I can find this tweet. It was a tweet with a list of linebackers available still, and hopefully I put it in my bookmarks to make this quicker.
I mean, they didn't even bring too many of them in as a rookie undrafted free agent.
Right.
The Decalon Brooks is 5'10", 222.
Right.
Bryce Notary, 6'3", 225, and then John, the guitarist for Dream Theater, John Petrucci, 6'1", 225.
Yeah. Well, that had the guy from Notre Dame. I said Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Yes.
No, that was just the tryout guys. The guy you're talking about is Drew White, who's on the roster, was signed a contract from Notre Dame, 6 foot 228.
Right. So I know they brought in 2 guys right after the draft like that, but yeah, they need a veteran. And I don't know who's left at this point. I was surprised that wasn't like a priority.
I would have been if I had been this team, it would have been my number 1 priority in the entire offseason.
Even if you're like, well, we like these 2 guys. Yeah, but you don't have anything behind them. And you need it. I know they only played 10% of their snaps.
But especially since, look who was in Carolina for years and years and years. What's his first name? Davis.
Luke Kuechly?
Well, him. Yeah, sorry, Luke Kuechly. And then there was that other linebacker who was in Washington for 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
They had quality linebackers there, and they just don't seem to want that here.
Yeah, I agree. They need some more physicality for sure. Because Phil, and not even just Phil, because I always say that now that he's here, but Phil, John Allen, Deron Payne, they're not always going to, be successful in every block. Like they may get double teamed, they may get swallowed up by the defense. The offensive lineman, and when you have that lineman climbing up to the second level, it's not going to be like can you count on these guys to take on those blocks well and keep containment on that running back to keep him going to that next level, that third level. So and even making the tackle, because that's going to be your job. You have to shed and make that tackle too at that point. So we'll see. I don't know, but to Steve's point, I understand it, and I don't necessarily disagree. What I do now, and when it always comes to evaluations and determining if they're right or wrong, is allowing them to do what they feel best. And I think what they think is best is getting Jamin and Cole some help up front. And then for me, I'm evaluating after to see if that shit worked. And we don't know if it's going to work with Phil, because Phil plays a new position. He plays a position that or plays the techniques that they really didn't have prior to Phil coming here. So we got to see how this works. And I'm not giving them any slack. I'm just saying if I see and understand their side, let's see if their side works for me. And then go from there.
Well,
so I don't disagree with Steve. I just got to see a little bit more.
They can do 2 things at once, though,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. It's like that old saying, and well, yeah.
By the way, just as a totally random note, speaking of Phil, did you guys see the story this week that Phil Mickelson's lost $40 million gambling?
Yeah, I did see that.
I was incredible.
Holy cow.
Do we even know what he was gambling on? I assume it was sports betting, but
I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention to it. I just thought that's an amazing amount of money to lose at gambling.
Well, people have obscene amounts of money. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I see somebody lose $40 million in like 4 years, I'm like, here I am complaining over the little bit that I lost.
Right.
But
even and I'm like, it could always be worse.
even if you assume like what's Phil, even if Phil's made like $100 million in his career,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a ton of God. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's not Elon Musk doing it, who could find that in his couch cushion. I mean,
No. Yeah.
Here's $40 million. Let me bet a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I assume it's also that chasing the dragon kind of thing.
He may be addicted to gambling.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
If you're losing that much, you have a problem.
Yeah. So the one thing that I try and put into context all the time with this situation at linebacker, you play about 1,000 snaps a season. A little bit more sometimes, a little bit less sometimes, but it's about 1,000. The top tackler on your team maybe gets to 100 tackles solo, but assists they'll be higher. Like maybe they get 10%, and those are your linebackers. You need more than one good linebacker doing that job, and that's just the facts of how football's played. Like you need more linebackers to take on that burden. It's one of those weird things. Do we have any other thoughts about rookie minicamp?
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, if any of them. I haven't seen. We're recording this on Saturday morning, and we haven't seen. I haven't, at least, that they have actually signed any of these guys.
No,
and usually they're going to do that. It'll be within a day or two.
Yeah.
So by the time this comes out, we'll probably know if they keep any of them.
Yeah.
One last thing. Shout out to the. Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say shout out to the person that just sent me a message earlier today about how someone's moving. I said that, and I'll say it on here because it's easier to talk on a podcast versus having people misconstrue your tweets.
Sure.
But shout outs to the people who get film or get conclusions from people in shorts and in jersey shirts and try to tell me one thing. I know he wasn't fully serious, but I said Cole Turner runs like Jason Witten. Literally, like he runs like him. Not he's as slow as him or anything, but somebody hit me up saying, "Oh, he moves much quicker than Jason Witten." You had me scared for a second. I'm like, that's what's up, but I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about somebody moving in shorts and jersey shirts and they're not even in full pads yet.
It sounds like you meant that the guy literally looks like Jason Witten when he runs, nothing else.
That's literally what I meant. And like I had tons of people saying, "Well, Jason Witten get open, didn't he? Jason Witten get open." I'm like, come on, bro. I don't care about none of that. I'm gonna let y'all say what y'all gotta say, but y'all don't have to get so defensive over a 5th round pick. Y'all don't have to do it.
They're not thinking through what you're saying. And
they aren't.
Yeah. And do we mean old man Jason Witten or young man Jason Witten?
That's what people ask too. Yeah, I'm about to say it's like he moves his arms in that same way that just reminds me of Jason Witten and runs the same way. So I'm like, come on now, like y'all don't have to worry about that man being a grandpa on the field. I ain't saying he that slow. He's not that slow.
No. The people make way too much of the like little highlights that come out. Everyone was like, "Oh, look at John Doxson on this play," and it's him running a simple like up slant route and
in shorts against no defense,
and he catches a ball that was perfectly thrown right at his chest, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, look at!" And like that, like I'd hope he doesn't like.
Hey Jamal, let me ask you a question.
People talk about he got to turn his head around quicker in drills. I'm like, bro, what are we talking about? It's a light practice.
Let me ask you something, Jamal, because I know you. I don't think we have time to go over all of them, but I know you've done some film studies in the top few draft picks. I'd like to at least hear what you think about Dotson, because you missed the last show, and so I wanted to. And you've one that paid most attention to him. So what do you really think of Josh Dotson?
John, look at you. You think about John. Look at that 2016,
Ooh.
man.
Yeah, I did do that. Yeah,
Party foul.
Yeah, Dotson, the new guy, Dotson.
Yeah, Jahan. I had him ultimately ranked number 4 out of my 5 that I actually had opportunity to watch. So he was my 4th best receiver, actually in front of Olave. Olave was 5 for me. But to long story short, the move in the first round, I questioned the value at 16. Like I definitely wouldn't have took Jahan at 11. I knew you could get him further back, but I did question the value of taking him at 16 because I thought he would have been able to make it to like the 20s. So they had multiple offers. Excuse me. They had multiple offers, and that's kind of what hangs me up in terms of that part. But in terms of the player himself, I'm fine. If you take one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, in the draft class, I can't complain with that. So what I like about Jahan, obviously we speak on the bigger things, is his catch radius is incredible. His hands are incredible. They're soft, but also he has that concentration at the catch point to make so many difficult catches look very easy. He has the body control to really go up and get a ball and maintain that balance when he comes down, or position his body in a way that, it seems difficult, and it really is difficult if you purposefully try to attempt it, but it's so natural to him. I like his quickness at the line of scrimmage. He eats up space pretty well, and they say he runs a 4.43, and to be honest with you, he does run a 4.43 because that's what he was timed with. But when that ball is in the air, he runs like a 4.2. Like he's creates got more separation.
Football speed.
Yes, exactly. He has much more football speed than what those numbers show. So like when you see that ball in the air, and for example, because I'll get to his negatives shortly, but when you see that ball in the air and you see that the defender he's in his hip within a yard from Jahan Dotson, which is pretty good coverage in a sense. But when that ball is in there, you see that subtle separation that he didn't do anything. All he saw was see that ball and he went to go get it. So you see that subtle separation, and he starts pulling away from the defender. So with a quarterback like Carson Wentz, when you see him on those downfield throws that Carson Wentz will give him those opportunities, it may not start off with him, separating, but when that ball is in there, Carson Wentz will ultimately figure out when they start working together this summer, OTAs, all those things, that he can lay it out for Jahan, and Jahan will go get it. So I like the fact that he can separate at the top of his breaks. I like the way that he maneuvers from the short to intermediate. He's a 3-level receiver. In the NFL, I didn't see him as an X, and I'll get to that part because that's part of my negatives.
I said he was a Z last week.
Yes, I think he's a Z receiver, but I think that he'll perform best in the slot. And what that means for Curtis, it doesn't really matter because you can always find personnel groupings to have Curtis. Like if you run a four wide set, you can have both of them in the slot on both sides. And even if you wanted to maneuver because of the versatility, you can maneuver what's his name? Turner. Like you can find ways to have them all on the field. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Long
Cole
story
Turner,
short,
the tight end.
Cole Turner, like he can be split out wide, and you can have Jahan on the opposite end too, like and Curtis can be in the backfield or something. I don't know, but it's always ways to keep these guys on the field. So I like that versatility that he brings. You can open up the offense a little bit more in that regard. The change of direction is really good. He's that double move guy for Washington. He's going to be excellent with the double moves. He has the patience, but also sinks his hips well to kind of create that separation, things like that. Now, the negative, and the reason why I wouldn't put him at X, and while he can get off press, that's where he struggles the most. He plays high. Excuse me, I had a burp. But he plays high at times, and that kind of gets him in trouble against press coverage. You got to get a little bit lower, but you also have to develop your play strength. And I think for him, what happens is when he gets locked on by the defenders that's really good against press or that's strong enough, they can send him out the gym. Like if you all watch my film breakdown with Jahan Dotson, like there was plays where he's as the X receiver, he literally got sent from on the line of scrimmage to the sideline, like to the stands. Like the defender made an example out of him. Like he sent him to the stands. And that was in the middle of the play. It wasn't after the whistle or anything. It was in the middle of the play. So there's ways that he can get locked up. And if you face those really tough corners, especially as the X, as a man-on-man guy, he's going to struggle like that. Now he's faced a lot of press coverage in Penn State, but he's also got off it. So his hand usage is fine. But you have to, let me be more specific. His hand usage is okay, but what you have to do on the next level is find a way to marry your hand usage with your quickness. He's very good with his feet. He has good initial quickness, the line of scrimmage and things like that. You have to marry your hand usage with your feet, and I think that's going to be the journey for Jahan to become that that elite playmaker on the next level. So you have something good and you have something to work with. I like that pick with Jahan Dotson, but man-on-man coverage, he can separate, but when those defenders get closer to the line and starts playing more aggressive coverage, I wouldn't be surprised if defenders put their best press corner on Jahan when they start doing man-to-man.
Yeah, last week I haven't watched as much film on him as you have, but that was what really stuck out with me. These bigger, stronger corners in press man, he had a lot of trouble with them, and I think he will benefit from having that space that the Z receiver provides. 3 or 4 yards to get a break, all of that. So that, yeah. Plus, I mean, Terry McLaurin obviously is the best receiver the team has by far. Yeah. Needs to be over there, on the X.
Yeah, so I'm very interested in that, and excuse me, I'm very interested in seeing how that works out. And I'll be quick on one last person, Phil Mathis. I think when it comes to Phil, man, I love this pick the more I watched him, because again, as I briefly stated earlier, they didn't have nobody like this last year, and they did put people in his position. They just weren't good at it. Like, that's not where they're comfortable at. So what Phil does, he brings that strength. He is that person who is a hard person to move. He has the hand usage in the run game that allows him to get past those blockers if they need him to. Because I don't know, like, specifically what his role is. They said occupy when he spoke, I think yesterday, Friday during his presser. They said they wanted him to occupy or something like that. I have to look a little bit more into it, because I didn't see a transcript of him per se, because he was on the presser as well. But they said he wanted him to occupy and kind of change his role from what he did in Alabama to something different here. But in Alabama, they allowed him to push up field at times. But he's also strong enough to settle in and take on those double teams if need to. I think he does have to work a little bit on handling those. But in terms of one gapping or two gapping, where you're responsible for one gap, or you line up, if you're doing two gap, you're lining up over a player and you're controlling the left or the right of that offensive lineman. I think that he's going to be fine as a one gapper. But I think that the thing that I like is his techniques against the run. He has some veteran moves, and I can't wait to show one, because I thought there was this one time where he got double teamed and he got down to a knee against LSU, and I thought that he lost the rep. I was like, I ain't know it was that bad for him. But the more research I did to figure out what exactly happened on this, because I never seen it before. Like, I never seen it on his film and things like that. I came across some Mike Daniels, the Green Bay Packers nose guard or nose tackle. I came across some Mike Daniels clips and noticing like what he does to, give away some power to regain leverage against double teams. Like, those are impressive moves for a college defensive lineman, and he has some things in his tool set that I'm really impressed about, and I think it can make our run game even better. Pass game, this one, I think when people say that he has 9 sacks, he's an excellent pass rusher. What are y'all talking about? Well, guess what? He is an okay pass rusher coming out, but I think what distinguishes the differences between people saying he needs to work on his pass rush skills versus you all saying he's actually a good pass rusher is his initial moves. Use of hands are important when in the trenches. Like, you have to have active hands. You have to have quick hands. Like, it has to happen every play in the trenches. Like, that is your job. You have to use them all the time. And what works with Phil is the fact that he can win on his initial moves. Sometimes he catches people by surprise. But the problem is, what happens when those offensive linemen are prepared for his initial move, or they win against his initial move? That is the issue that Phil comes across, because he lacks the counters. His hands become still, and that's what locks him up ultimately. So I think that's what people got to understand when people say he needs to work on his pass rush moves. For example, if you look at one of the best, Aaron Donald, his hands never stop moving. It generates so much pressure. And it makes offensive linemen so uncomfortable because they never stop moving. He has counters. He has third counters. Like, third, if his second one doesn't move, he continues to find ways to work. And that's why he is one of the best, because they never stop moving. He never stops forgetting, things like that. So when people say that he struggles with pass rush, that's what they mean. It's not his initial use of hands. It's what he does after his initial use. That was my first two.
There you go. Yeah, we'll
right.
save the other two maybe for another show. But does he go by Phil? His name is Fedarian.
Yeah, Fedarian. They call him Big Phil.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's all.
Who knew Fedarian shorted to Phil?
I think when you have a unusual name, sometimes you just want to shorten it to something people will.
I guess. Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, and I remember hearing him say people call him Phil, like in his presser. So
yeah, it's part of his brand. I forgot what make him feel it. That's what it is. His brand is make him feel it, and that's what he's trying to to develop and continue to build. So Phil his name. I mean Phil is his shorter nickname, and Fedarian is no L.
Yeah. So, we have about 15 minutes left on the show, guys. I know we could probably talk about some of these other players, but we should get to some of the other things we have on the agenda. We have to do our tackle breakdown for the position groups real quick.
Yeah, so let me stop you right there. So every year we've done position group breakdowns in the offseason. We've done one per week. After the draft through the through training camp.
Yeah.
Roughly. And so we're starting that today. We're going to go with tackles, mainly because it's the most boring one.
Right. So, Steve, why don't you just give us the names who we have? I think we know the starters, and this is boring because we kind of know what's going to happen at tackle.
That's why we're doing it first.
Yes.
That's expressly why I picked that first.
Yes.
Okay, so the tackle group, the team's paid remarkably little attention to. Obviously, this year they've done absolutely nothing. They re-signed Charles Leno, who there's your starting left tackle. Sam Cosmi, the second-round pick from last year, is your starting right tackle. Cornelius Lucas is the swing tackle, and Sadiq Charles is whatever Sadiq Charles is, which may be a civilian after the training camp possibly. But that's your entire tackle group, folks.
We don't even have any
no. All these guys they signed are really all guards.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll get to that next week. But so Leno, just his contract, he's a huge contract. 3 years, $37 million.
Right.
12
They're paying
million
him starter money. That's
right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, $18 million guaranteed, $8.5 million cap it. So Leno, even if Leno sucks, Leno starts.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just simple. And then Cornelius Lucas as your swing tackle, pretty good swing tackle, not a great starter, but good swing tackle. So they just need to hope that Charles Leno's probably a slightly plus 11, slightly plus left tackle, I'd say.
Yeah.
Sam Cosmi, still developing. We'll see. Sadiq Charles, I think, is not a tackle, but I have him listed there because that's how they drafted him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Charles is kind of gonna be one of these guys who's just the seventh man up. So wherever you need him, you're gonna have to plug him in. On the line.
You mean Cornelius Lucas? You mean?
No,
Charles. Sadiq Charles. Okay.
Yeah. I think.
Good luck with Charles, man. I'm not gonna lie to y'all because I don't know what he got in store, and I'm not saying he's a bad player. I haven't looked at him, but I know like if he was better than or if he was good, coaches would love to be mentioning more in terms of including him in their starting plans. To y'all point, I don't like. Good luck to him.
Well, when they drafted him, I remember the murmurs were they thought they had a steal there, and he just hasn't worked. Yeah.
Because remember, he was like from a talent perspective, he was rated by some as a second-round pick, and he had some character concern. I can't remember even what it is.
I think he was like to smoke a little bit of the weed is what it was.
I don't know. I don't remember, but I mean, they thought they had a steal. I didn't understand the pick even then personally, but I watched a little bit of him, didn't get it. But
I don't know. Like he did play a couple snaps at least last year. I don't remember how many.
Well, it was kind of by default.
He started. Yeah, he had to go in for some injuries. And he struggled a little bit.
Okay, so just the thought, and that's basically it for the position group breakdown, kids. But just one thought here is that Charles Leno is about to be 31.
Right. He's not young.
No. So you think he can do it for another couple of years, but at some point they'll have to find a new left tackle. And Sam Cosmi strikes me, and I have no basis for saying this in terms of film, but he strikes me as the new John Jansen. Meaning that maybe the right tackle is the correct side for him,
right?
As opposed to left tackle. Again, I have no basis. I have no film basis. It's just kind of my gut feeling.
So you drafted him at right to play right.
Yeah, kind of. And so they'll have to replace Charles in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Charles Leno meaning.
Yes, Charles Leno. I really liked some things we saw out of Cosme. I think his run blocking ability is raw, but like his ability to get to the second level, he is not as athletic, but he's athletic kind of in that Trent Williams vein, where he can move on the field for a big man, which I love. And we kind of need at least one. You need one or two guys who can really play that way on the line. But he was definitely raw. There were times where he looked a little lost last year, and then he got hurt, of course, so that didn't help. But I like what we see in Cosme. I like the potential.
Yeah.
He has that punch, man. He has that strike. Like he brings the physical presence. So I wonder they'll probably continue to build on that. Not probably, they will continue to build on that with this offensive line and the makeup of what they're doing. So I know it's tackles right now. So when we get the guards, we can get or interior, we can get a complete picture with that offensive line, the statement that they're trying to bring. But yeah, I like that. I like the physicality we're saying.
Yeah, and by the way, we're going to do guards and interior linemen next week. Yeah, the team is clearly happy with their tackle group because they didn't draft anybody. They didn't even bring in an undrafted free agent. They didn't bring in anybody.
Chris Paul, ain't he a tackle? Chris Paul, or is he a guard?
I think of him as a guard personally.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The projection.
By the way, did you see my favorite thing about the draft is to watch the phone calls from the coaches to the players, because obviously it's like the culmination of everything that worked. Chris Paul was breaking out in full scale man tears, man. It was a good call.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
No. Oh, I mean, good for him.
Absolutely. No. I mean, good for him.
This is probably the biggest moment in most of these guys' lives at this point. So,
And when they're working at Burger King 4 years from now.
Yeah, for a lot of them, unfortunately, true.
Not necessarily Chris Paul in particular. I just, generally speaking, a lot of them are going to be out of the league, and this will be the highlight,
Right. I was also thinking some of them probably already married or have kids or something. Those might still be a
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Percy Butler, by the way, just had a kid. So congrats to him. I saw that much on Twitter or something a couple weeks ago.
That's cool. All right. So any other thoughts on the tackle group? I mean, we kind of know what we're getting. We've seen these guys for we've seen a couple of them for 2 seasons now. So we know where we're at. All right, let's move on real quick. The team announced that they are bringing the band back. They put out a big press release today or yesterday, I think it was, officially announcing the band is coming back. They said they're going to revamp the fight song, try and keep some of the original lyrics and stuff. I don't know. There were no details, which led to a lot of people trying to write new lyrics. And guys, if you are trying to write new lyrics on Twitter, you're awful. All of you, you've all done a bad job. And I include myself in that because I was...
You took a stab at it?
Well, no. So here's the thing. People are writing it, and there's a beat to the original song, right? You can't add extra syllables if it doesn't match the beat. That's, songwriting basics. Steve, you do a lot of music.
I'm a musician, yes. Matter of fact, I like my version of HTTR much better than the original, but
you know what I'm saying. You can't have 7 syllables when you have 5 space for 5.
I haven't seen any of these lyrics that you're talking about. I assume this is a Twitter warriors who are doing this.
Yes.
If you're a talented vocalist, you'll hear some vocalists kind of run through the beat a little bit or some of these words, but you have to be pretty good to do that. And so if they're adding like "Hail to the Redskins," "Hail to the Commanders" or something, assume they're doing that. You need to.
You're adding a syllable there. It doesn't work. Yeah. Now you could say "Hail the Commanders," and that's the same number of syllables. And
let me just say this: number one, I don't care.
Yeah.
But number 2,
you're angry about it regardless.
Yeah. I'm glad the band is back. That's good for the franchise.
Yeah.
But the fight song, leave it alone. If I was a fan, which I don't consider myself a fan anymore, but if I was a fan, I would be irritated that you're changing just leave the fight song the way it is and come up with something new. Why are you changing perfection? Just come up with a new song.
Yeah, I honestly think that's probably the direction. Because I think it's going to be pretty lazy if they come back and say, We're going to have a new fight song. It's going to sound similar, and push from there. I personally, like, I don't dive into these things. I understand the tradition. I respect it. I just don't dive. I personally don't dive into it because it's like, I'm indifferent. I understand we're going through the change, but I understand, like, there's a group of fans who take this stuff serious. Just leave it alone. Don't dive into, like, nostalgia. That's the word, nostalgia. Don't leave it alone. Like, 'cause everybody not gonna be happy with that. You gotta go completely new.
Well, they've sent a cruise missile through nostalgia up to this point. I don't know why the theme song is what they get stuck on.
It is an interesting one. Like, well, part of the problem is they've spent the last 20 years building only on nostalgia, and now they're 180ing.
And they're going, so you've driven away people like me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd probably be done anyway just because of the way the front office is, but
believe me, that has crossed my mind.
It's amazing to me that how many fans out there can just ignore that.
Yeah, I don't
understand. How can you possibly? Don't you have, like, wives and sisters and mothers and girlfriends?
You can't possibly ignore it 100%.
People do, though. People are, like, all on board.
Well, there are certain people we were talking about earlier, like with the getting access as podcasts. Yeah. There are certain people who I've noticed do not pretend that nothing is wrong, and it's not you, Steve. You raised your hand. The opposite. There are
you said
people
I thought you said that don't pretend nothing's wrong.
No. They do not see what they're acting like, and they're acting like monsters, honestly.
Yeah.
So the band thing was interesting. You brought up something else that it just jogged my memory. That it was that poll that came out. You saw, and you commented on it. How only 39% or 31% of
that was my
Washington,
weekly
DC,
visit to Twitter.
Yeah. So who was it? The polling company Nielsen did a poll. The fan base is down to 31%, I believe.
It was 29. So that was when I was, like, posting a link to our content or something. That was, like, what opened up, and it was something from. Is there a station WUSA 9 in DC?
Yeah. CBS. Yeah.
That was the tweet I saw that popped. That was at the top when I opened it to advertise our content, and what they were. And I watched this little 2-minute video, and they were going around interviewing people.
Right.
And the complete wrong people are obviously not sports fans. There were 2 Nationals fans there, but the rest of them obviously weren't sports fans.
No, they had Captain, what's his name, who's like a DC super fan in it.
Well, but they had
the sea captain outfit. He's a super fan.
They had a couple people who clearly didn't even know what football is. But the data they were using was that somebody, I guess Nielsen, did a survey and came up with 29% as the number of fans in DC who are
Commanders
fans of this. Yeah, I refuse to say the name.
Yeah, all right. I will say that part for you.
Thank you.
And this is compared to, I think they said 2004, it was 55% for the Redskins.
My point with the little tweet I put up, which again is my weekly tweet, was that, what do you expect when you have a team that has done all these things wrong, and it's essentially an expansion franchise because you just destroy all things of the old franchise? What do you think? People are just going to follow? Sure, like the hog farmer types are going to never criticize and always be positive and nothing's wrong and forget about it. But your average person is just like, nah,
Yeah. Well,
Steve, you should make this a thing. Like, literally, do like a segment, like a Steve Weekly tweet. Like
Steve's Weekly,
you put out you put out a sentence or two, and then you just disappear. But you put, like, on this week's Steve's tweet. Figure it out.
I'll do that.
Make it like a weekly thing where you put out one tweet a week.
Because I do that anyway. So maybe that'll be a thing. It's my weekly.
Make it a thing.
I feel like I need to create a graphic, and it's like, no one will know what you look like, so it can't really even. It could be anything, but like a piñata shaped like Dan Snyder, and you're.
As long as you guys can take the blow, I don't care. The team will hate us for it, but
the team already hates us. We talked about that.
Yeah. But it won't stop us from asking to get to the practices.
But that 29% number does kind of blow my mind.
Low. Shocking low.
Although
not really, but in terms of, like, your average, you got to remember that this team is the least popular team in the league, attendance wise, everything. They're down there with the Lions, I don't know what anybody thought. I mean, it's going to be 80% no, especially in a transient area like DC.
Well, and then you factor in, I mean, they ask people, why don't you like this team? It's all Dan Snyder. Every response was Dan Snyder, Dan Snyder. And now that's the video. There could have been other things that they didn't have in there because, you edit.
Well, they had one guy that said, who's that?
Yeah.
Perhaps
And then they
you ought to
had
not interview a guy like that.
They had the one guy who won't even say his name, and that was the guy who's the DC super fan. The guy, so that guy is trying to replace Chief Z. And
there's a number of Chief Z replacement wannabes out there.
Yeah. But he's like at Caps games, Nats games, Wizards games. I see him at every sporting event. I saw him at arena football games, and he doesn't do Washington Commanders, Redskins.
I don't even know who you're talking about. I mean, other than that,
if you rewatch the video and you saw a guy in a sea captain outfit.
Okay. That guy, I had never seen him before.
He's now like a DC superfan.
I was wondering who on earth that was dressed like that.
Yes, he dresses like that to all sporting events.
Because he's obnoxious and is trying to get attention, essentially.
Well, I mean, what do superfans do?
Well, there's a difference. If you're a legitimate fan, whereas you're just obnoxiously trying to get attention, there's a difference.
The guy who used to wear the barrel to Cowboys game, you don't think he was doing it for attention?
The barrel to Cowboys fans. I don't remember him either.
Cowboys games. He would wear like a barrel instead of clothes,
Oh, that guy. Yeah, well, he's trying to get attention.
Right. That's what they're all trying to do. All of them.
I hate that. I don't like that.
Well, you don't like attention.
No.
I mean, you like certain types of attention. You don't.
Well,
like
there's all the current bloggers. A lot of them are just trying to get attention.
Yeah.
Also.
Oh
That's
yeah.
why they're doing it.
Yeah. Well, I would be lying if I said that wasn't part of why I started doing this too. At some point,
I got into it just because it was, fun to talk about football. And,
too.
The legal and business issues about football, which I know better than almost anybody out there on Twitter.
Yeah. No. I mean, there were other reasons, but definitely attention is part of it. I mean, look, Jamal's trying to make careers out of this stuff, and Jamal's got 100 podcasts that he does now.
Jesus Christ, just two.
Well, but you had all 32 for a while too. You've had a couple startups as well.
I've done 2 of them. I mean, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say me and Steve in the same boat. You do IJB and dogs.
Of course, you're doing this trap or dive a lot more often than we do IJB, though.
Yeah, that part. It's crazy because
I know Twitch is making you do it. I get it, but
I'm done with that. Thankfully, that's why I scaled down. I did even more. I was doing even more at one point, but the contract expired. Thank God. Like that stuff, I don't ever want to spend that much time with such little ROI on something like that. Like I felt like I was about to say slave, but I just felt like a.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, I'm about to say I felt terrible. It was, it provided some eyes on me, but in the end, like Twitch is a whole different beast.
But you got some good guests throughout there, man. Like I've been following it, man. You've been getting some great guests over there. Just to hype Jamal's other show a little bit. We don't do that very often.
Wasn't one of those guys an agent who gets this talent for you? Is that what's going on?
So one of my co-hosts is an agent. He was able to get us a couple guys. Clinton Portis. Right. That was one of our first guests. Should
have let me question him. I'd have him under oath, man.
I think it was before
the. Who was the other one? Ben St. Juice. He was able to get us a couple of those 3. So, man, it's been fine. I appreciate the love. I don't talk about it on here. I'm here on the hog side.
Absolutely, we like that show best. I do think if Clinton Portis, if you're listening, you don't need to do podcasts right now. Just FYI.
Yeah,
right now. Not a good idea.
Yeah, he'll hear this when he gets out in August, I believe. I think.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to cover? We're kind of done with
quick,
the show. Right?
Just salary cap. I'm not going to go over all this.
Okay.
I won't give a detailed update.
Where are we on space?
Yeah. So Washington, I'm at the top of my massive spreadsheet, and you move down. Okay. So Washington, factoring in the rookies, but not factoring in the contracts of Trey Turner and Alex Erickson, neither of which I have the details of right now. Mm-hmm. Washington is at about $6 million roughly. That's factoring in all the rookie pool. I did do that. Okay. So $6 million. So Trey Turner is going to be another couple million, probably $1 million, $1.5 million, and then Alex Erickson probably be above the rule of 51 line. So take a couple million out. So they're probably $4 million, maybe.
4 million left?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, so not a lot, but that's like if they really need one good linebacker, it's enough to at least get them a decent linebacker.
Yeah, and by the way, I count 89. That's the roster count I have here.
So they have one spot open.
I think so. Yeah, it's kind of I'm still trying to figure it out because the other problem is there's at least one leftover. Tyrone Swoops, who was a no-show last year, who's still technically on the roster, and I think there's one more, and I can't remember who it is. So I mean, they're close. There may be one spot.
I can't comprehend the idea of being a no-show for a professional football team. Just not show up. All right.
Well, I mean, you're basically what it means is they're done with football, and Washington is retaining their rights in case they're not done with football. That's what it means. All right. They could have cut them.
I guess so.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That should wrap up this week's show. It was a quiet week. Things start picking up next week as we'll have the schedule release, and we're going to talk about guards and centers, and so we have a little more to talk about next week. But we filled out this one nicely.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. We will see you all next week. Again, hope you all had a happy Mother's Day, and, see you then.
Screw Dan Snyder.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, no. That's not going to help us.
Just got that in there.